Ready for set 6 words. So you pretty much know the deal by now. This video is a good way to get introduced to these words. It's also a good way to go back and study or review. You know that you always have the link to get into these flashcards on your own. You can always make your own flashcards. There's a link to a quizzes on the Canvas page that you found this too. Lots of ways to study, but let's just go ahead and get introduced or review the meanings of these words. So our first word is abolish. Excuse me. Abolish means to bring an end to or to do away with. When we hear abolish, or at least when I hear abolish, I tend to connect it with the Emancipation Proclamation, which was the document that Abraham Lincoln signed that abolished slavery, meaning that it ended slavery. But abolish can mean just to do away with or to end anything. Agony, hopefully something, a word that you don't have to use very often, but it just means in great pain of mind or body, suffering. So agony can be like like this gentleman in the picture who looks like he's obviously in agony. His teeth are hurting. But agony can also refer to a state in your mind where you're suffering, you're very upset, whatever it is that you're thinking about is making you upset. So agony is extreme. It's not just being a little bit upset. It's great pain or great suffering. A catapult. A catapult is an ancient machine that was used in wars to throw objects with great force. You may have done a STEM project where you've made a catapult. If you came to STEAM night, we did catapults. It can mean to be moved suddenly with great force, as if you were being thrown by a catapult. So you could catapult something even if you're not using the actual machine. Character has lots of meaning. Obviously, we know a character is a person in a story or a movie or a play, but it also, character can talk about the qualities that make a person or a place different or special. For example, like character traits, right? Or you can have show great character, meaning things about yourself that make you stand out or special. A character also can mean a letter or a symbol used in writing. Sometimes you may notice when you're typing in Canvas even, or on a Google Doc, it'll show you how many characters you've used. Character just means like the letters or the symbols that you're typing in. Denounce. Denounce means to speak out against something or to criticize it or to accuse someone of doing wrong. So if you denounce the way someone is behaving because they are not doing, the right thing. So if you see a bully that's picking on someone or somebody that's not being nice, you could speak out against that, like denounce their behavior, denounce their choices, right? Accuse them of doing something that's not right. That's denouncing. Escalate. It means to go up or increase in size or scope. So we've heard of escalators before, or maybe you've been on an escalator before, right? It's because it's going up or increasing. Escalate can also mean like in when you guys take NWEA, the questions escalate, right? They get harder. They go up increasingly in difficulty. Or a situation could escalate, unfortunately. Maybe two people are getting into an argument and then it escalates into something worse than that, right? So escalate just means to go up. Grim. So when something is grim, it could mean cruel or fierce, unfriendly, threatening, unpleasant, disturbing. Overall, not a great thing if something is grim. A harbor. So a harbor is a protected place along the seacoast where ships can find shelter. You obviously will only see harbors on the coast, meaning right where the land and the water meet, like the ocean or a big body of water. We've been talking about the New England colonies. There would have been lots of harbors along the New England colonies where ships would come and find shelter. Harbor can also mean just to give shelter to somebody. So if you're harboring someone, you're taking care of them, you're giving them shelter. Harboring from the cold if you're bringing somebody, like inside of a building when it's cold out. But we normally hear it talking about ships. Inflict means to cause something painful to be felt. So we talked about agony. When you are in agony, you're feeling that pain. Inflicting would be the thing that's causing the pain. So, if you were to, obviously we know we don't do this, but if you were to hit somebody in the arm, you might be inflicting pain on them, right? So it's not the actual pain that's being felt, but it's the act of causing the pain is to inflict. Loathe. I love this word. Not because of the meaning, so it's to hate or greatly dislike. But I know when I was younger, I was told, not to say hate. It's not a nice word. I totally agree. So you'd have to become creative, right? Loathe was one of those words that I would hear that you could use instead of to hate or greatly dislike. So maybe you would loathe whatever was inflicting pain on you, right? Something that you would hate or greatly dislike. Metal. I love teaching this word to fifth graders because fifth graders know exactly what this is, whether you've heard this word or not. So, meddle means to involve oneself in other people's affairs without being asked. Essentially, it means getting in other people's business without them asking you to get in their business. We have all either been that person or we have been the person on the other end of it that has not asked somebody to get in your business and they do, right? That's meddling. Now, notice this is not like a medal that you wear around your neck. This is spelled different, right? Meddle. So, meddle, getting up in people's business, really. Monstrous. So, monstrous could mean causing shock or something that's horrible or wicked. But also, monstrous can just mean extremely large. So, one of those is kind of a negative way to describe something, and the other one isn't necessarily negative, but they both come from the same word. So, for example, in this picture, we see this tiny little girl, right? In relation to the elephant statue or the woolly mammoth statue, in this case, is monstrous. It's extremely large, but monstrous can also mean something that's causing a lot of shock, and that is not a great thing. That's horrible. That's wicked. Rouse. So rouse means to awaken or wake up or to stir or excite. So maybe if your younger sibling runs into your bedroom and wakes you up on Christmas morning to, excitement, to awaken you, to rouse you, or maybe cheerleaders. If you go to a football game, that's their goal is to stir things up and to excite people, to rouse people to their feet, to get excited. Steadfast. Steadfast is unchanging, it's steady, it's loyal. Steadfast would be a good way to describe your best friend, right? Somebody that's going to be loyal, that's always going to be there for you, or maybe a friend or a family member, that's steadfast. Maybe it's an activity that you like to do. You always know when you go home that maybe that specific game or toy is always going to be there for you no matter what, something that you enjoy, right? So that's steadfast. And then the last one is translate, and that actually kind of connects to our home of the brave here. It just means to put into a different language. So, for example, you could translate the word hello in English to hola in Spanish, right? Obviously, you can translate any language to any other language you've probably used or seen Google Translate before, right? It just means to take a word from one language and put it into another. So those are our 15 words for the next 2 weeks, or if you're watching this as a review, those are our 15 words that you need to study before our test comes up. Make sure that you are either using this video, using the Quizlet, using the quizzes, making your own flashcards, however you want to study, but make sure you're looking over these words before our quiz.